Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mike Kollin at MikeKollin.com. Do you really want to change your life? Do you really want to heal? I'm going to share with you an experience that I just went through that shifted. And I'm going to show you the core piece that every technique that I've used, that I've learned, is this one thing that we're doing. Every technique that I do is doing this one simple thing, and I'm going to give it to you right now. So before that, I have a question for you guys. Over the years, I've always used music, and I've began to lower the volume, especially after the first 20-30 seconds or so. I've lowered it even more. So I'm wondering, do you guys prefer no music at all, even if it's super low, or do you prefer a little bit of music? Let me know. Because for me, it kind of sets the tone for what I'm going to talk about. So I'm going to share with you two experiences that I had just today, and I'm going to share with you something that we learned during an NLP training. Actually, I learned it, but it wasn't until I read it in one of Dr. Richard Bandler's books that it really hit home. So everything that you do, everything that you feel, everything that's good, bad, is only because of one thing, and it comes down to one word. And that one word is meaning. It's the meaning that you associate to it, whatever it is. This one understanding about 10, maybe 12 years later, maybe 15 years later, helped me get out of a deep depression because of this one thing. So my best friend died when I was 19. This really isn't what the video is about, so don't worry about it. So he died when I was 19. I went to a real deep depression for a long time. And what happened was, I remember Tony Robbins telling I'm going to make it really quick, telling a story about these two soldiers in, I think it was the Korean War, maybe the Vietnam War, but I think it was the Korean War. Regardless, they had dug a foxhole, they were in there, and their buddy was out in front of the foxhole about 15-20 feet or whatever, and the enemy had snuck upon them and threw a hand grenade, and right in front of them, they both, from the same perspective, the same distance, the same everything, the same foxhole, side by side, saw their battle buddy get blown up. So I think it was like 20 years later or something like that, a person was writing a book on the war, and what they did was they went and looked up these two guys, and they said, hey, you know, they wanted to find out, like, well, how did their life turn out after the war? And so what happened is they found the one guy, he was homeless, he was hooked on drugs, he was living on the streets and just like hated life, and life was horrible. And they asked him, like, you know, like, what happened? Like, what happened to cause you to be, you know, basically down Skid Row? And he's like, when I saw my buddy get blown up right in front of me, he goes, I realized life wasn't worth living. Now that's a decision. He decided that the meaning of life wasn't worth living. Now they went and found the other buddy. Now he was devastated just as much. But what happened was they found him, and he was a U.S. Senator. This is a true life story, by the way. So with this guy, he went off to school, got his degree, then he got his law degree or doctorate degree in law or something like that, and then eventually started his own law firm. He became very, very successful, very, very wealthy. And then he ran for the U.S. Senate, and he became a United States Senator. And at that time, he was a United States Senator. So the guy interviewed him, said, so what happened? What caused you to do so well in life? He said, you know, I was in the war, and I was in my foxhole, and I watched my buddy get blown up right in front of me. And he said, I decided right then and there, life was precious. Life was valuable. You never know when you're going to lose it. He said, from that point forward, I lived every moment of every life as if it was my last moment on earth. Now he cried, he was hysterical, just like his other buddy next to him, and it was devastating. But it was the decision that they made. And these were unconscious decisions. It wasn't like they sat down with Tony Robbins and said, let me think about this. No, it was just a quick flash decision in their mind. Now, I heard this from Tony Robbins' home study course back in around 1992 or 91 or something like that. And I thought, oh, it can't be that easy, you know. And then I went to, but I loved his book, Awaken the Giant Within. I loved his home study course, Personal Power. And I listened to it like 13 times over, and I read the book 13 times over, maybe 15 times, I think. And I went to his seminars, and I was motivated, loved it. But I cried. I missed my buddy. It was like, I was so sad. And I remember, I'm like, here I was 12, 15 years, just like my life was just passing me by. I was struggling with crying. I didn't know what to do. And I remember, I think I listened to the home study course again, or I read it in the book again. And I thought, why not just give it a shot? And immediately after that, I remember my buddy said to me one day, he said, Mike, are you happy? I'm like, what do you mean am I happy? He goes, look at you. You don't even know if you're happy, because I get you're winning all the trophies. You're the captain of the football team. You're captain of the wrestling team. You're getting straight A's. You're on the honor roll society. But are you happy? And I remember thinking, like, well, what does that matter? And I ran off to class because the bell rang, thinking, that's a weird question. So here it was, I don't know how many years later. We were in high school, so 17 years later, whatever, 20. And I remember that moment, and I remember everything about Marlon was he just wanted people to be happy. He threw parties. He did everything to make the girls laugh and make the guys laugh, and he just wanted people to be happy. That was one of his missions, or probably his mission on the planet, was to remind people, like, hey, you're here to be happy. And I thought, man. And I remember it's like a voice in my head, maybe someone when I was younger, like, well, what would Marlon want you to be? Would he want you to be this depressed for all these years after his death? And I thought, no. He would want me to be living my life to the fullest, to be happy. And that's when I decided, I'm going to make Marlon's death the meaning of my life, to live life to the fullest every moment of every day, regardless of what happens. And that's what turned it around. Now, something just happened tonight about 4 hours ago. A realization. I had a conversation with something that shifted my perspective. So the story I gave you wasn't what this video is about, but it shows you how powerful the meaning is that we give to things. And a lot of times we don't even know that we did it. And I'm going to share a meaning that I gave to an event that's affected my entire life until tonight, when I just did some timeline therapy. And it's because of the conversation I just had with someone about 4.5, 5 hours ago. Now, my life is doing good, and I didn't really quite understand the depth of how meaning changes and shifts and gives meaning to everything. Okay, I understood it. I made a huge shift in my life. But I remember rereading Richard Bandler's book. I don't remember which one it was, but it says everything we do is meaning shift. He goes, for 2 years, all I did was shift meanings. I reframed people's understandings of whatever the event that happened into a different meaning, something that was more empowering, happy, fun, loving, whatever. He goes, all we're doing is changing the meaning, reframing the meaning of the event. And I thought, oh, it can't be that simple. Now, I admit I'm an NLP trainer, Master Ericksonian hypnotherapist, and we have a lot of techniques, and all we're doing and this is what Richard Bandler said, he goes, every single technique that I've taught you, every single one reframes the meaning of the event. That's it. Done. I thought, no way. And then someone in the seminar, because he wrote his books through his seminar. He'd record the seminar and then just have a computer type it into the book. And someone said, there's no way. He goes, what about anchoring? And Bandler goes, yeah, that's like the ultimate reframe. And they're like, how? He goes, they have this anchor that triggers this emotion over here. So it's like a wire or a nerve. You push this button, it connects to this over here, which means pain. They're like, okay. He goes, what are we doing? We're rewiring it. This button, instead of meaning pain, now we unconnected it from that, and we moved it over. We connected it to happy or fun or confidence or pleasure or whatever. He goes, that's a perfect reframe. That is the ultimate reframe, an anchor. And that's when I went, oh. So we can take something that causes depression or hurt. It's an unconscious anger. It could be visual, auditory, kinesthetic, or smell certain, like I remember when I was a little, not a little kid, but I was probably about 20 some years old. I walked into this, I can't remember the name, but it was like a vegetarian place, but they had pizza. They did have cheese and milk and eggs, but that was it. Other than that, it was just like salads and stuff like that. But the pizza smell, I was like, and the first time I went with my brother-in-law, and I was just like, man, when I was a little kid, like in first and second grade, they had this pizza, blah, 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 blah. And he's looking at me like, dude, why are you talking about second grade all of a sudden? I'm like, I don't know, man. Next thing you know, because you got a tray, your plate, and your spoons and knives, and you're going down this thing, and you're putting whatever you want, grabbing what you want, biscuits or, muffins or whatever, salads, carrots. And next thing you know, I go, man, it smelled just like that. He goes, what do you? I go, oh, that's the same kind of pizza. It was the same smell. That was an anchor that I'd never smelled that smell since I was a kid. It brought me back to when I was a kid. That's an anchor. In this case, it was a positive anchor, but a lot of times we have a lot of negative anchors and they get fired off and we don't even know why we're sad. We can take that button, that anchor that causes pain, unhappiness, depression, confusion, or doubt, and we can rewire it and connect it to confidence, clarity, understanding into a more empowering emotional state of mind. It's a blast. I had my goddaughter had an anchor at school. These girls called her the S word. I'm just gonna say it, slut, and it hurt her feelings. So what I did was I rewired it to, oh, that means you're cute and sexy. And here's what happens. Now here's what I knew. I was like, man, if she goes to school like that, they're gonna be relentless if they notice it hurts her. But if it causes her to go into a positive state, they're like, oh. Because that's not what they want to do. So I rewired it to me, oh, that means you're cute and sexy. And I rewired it. And from that point forward, and she came back from school happy every day. And finally one day I go, so are the girls calling you that name? And she goes, they were, but they stopped calling it me that. And I don't know why. Because what happens is now that became a positive meaning. Now I'm not saying that people should be called that. But what I'm saying is I knew they would be relentless if they kept bringing her down. So I knew we had to flip the switch on her. And what happened was the girls at school didn't mess with her anymore because they're like, wow, that doesn't affect her at all. In fact, it genuinely put her into a positive state. So they're like, oh, can't mess with her. So everything is, here's the difference between regular psychology and NLP. Psychology essentially is tell them your story. Tell them the story. That's what we call surface level. NLP goes down into the structure of the story. So what's causing this? And I had a perspective shift tonight, which was the structure. So in NLP, it's context, process, or structure. Think of structure as the framework of a building. If it's broken, the building is going to be sagging down. But if you fix the structure, boom, it's fixed. Let's go with context. For example, if you were in a grocery store and you went sprinting down the aisle and you blindsided someone from behind and tackled them as hard as you could and rammed right into them, slammed them to the ground, you would probably get arrested and thrown in jail. But if you did the same thing on the football field, you wouldn't get thrown in jail at all. In fact, the crowd would probably fucking cheer. But here's the funny thing. There's even context within a football game. You can't do it in between plays. You can only do it during the play within a certain time limit. Once the whistle is blown, if you hit someone, you're going to get penalized. You can even get fined. So sometimes you have a horrible, guilty feeling, and you're realizing it's just a context reframe. You just got to reframe the context. All right, so let's get on with it. Mine was a structural shift in my mind. So I was talking to someone tonight, and what happened was, so the person that I was dealing with was kind of like a mild level narcissist, and it was really, I was at a point where I can't even deal with this guy. I'm done. Once I started seeing it, I thought, oh, screw this. And so what happened was they said something to someone behind my back, and this person came to me and told me, and I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. So I was like, now here's the deal. We deal with narcissists. What I do, see, you guys may not do because you're told lions and tigers and bears. Oh my, not me. F that. I'm going straight to the source. So I started realizing this person talks crap about everybody, and I mean everybody. People he works with, coworkers, customers, and I realized, he's probably talking shit about me too. So what happened, sure enough, it came back to me, not more than once, etc., etc. But what happened was, I went to someone and said, hey, why does he do that? Like, what is this all about? And he said something that made me go, oh. He said, He goes, that's his way of controlling his space. And I went, no shit. Now, this may not have an impact for you. Here's the deal. He works at a place where they get homeless people, drug addicts, normal people, people that are angry. I live in an area where people are kind of on edge all the time. It's kind of an argumentative place, and people like to yell and fight. It's kind of like New York City, but on a smaller level. So one thing this person told me a while back was, he goes, it took me 5 years to learn how to deal with people because, Michael, I was a nervous wreck, and I learned how you got to shut them down. You got to do it. And I was actually proud of him. I was like, man, that's interesting to learn that. Okay, cool. And he does some outrageous thing, like he can be super loud, and there's a bunch of different techniques that he does, and I've watched him, like, wow, it's fascinating me, and I actually had brought it up, like, hey, like, why do you do that? He goes, well, because when a person does this, if I do that, I notice they do that, and thought, brilliant, genius. I have a lot of respect for people who work in the retail world, who work in grocery stores, who have to deal with the public on that level. And because of this, what I noticed him doing, I thought, man, like that's really good. Like I couldn't even do that. I had a lot of respect for the guy, but I realized it kind of spilled over into people that are his friends or people that are being nice to him. Like, whoa, what's going on here? And I was like, hey, and that was the part that I couldn't understand. Well, the person I talked to tonight goes, well, sometimes, these things will spill over to other areas of our lives, and, it's not really we're doing it on purpose. And I thought, oh, okay. And so I didn't really like that, but it was after he said, well, this is his way of controlling his space. And I went, oh, okay. Because these people will run you over. I've seen new people that work that get run over by customers and homeless people and people on drugs, and because they don't know how to deal with it. And I'm like, okay. And here's what happens. All of a sudden, I pulled back. And again, this is what in NLP we call submodality. So mentally, I wasn't like at the counter looking at him like he's 3 feet from me. I pulled back about 30 feet and I started seeing the big picture, like this big space around him. And I realized, like, oh, that's what he's creating so people don't invade his bubble. And when people come in, it's like they get this sense of, oh, yeah, I can't mess with this guy. Now, the poor thing was he tended to attack people who didn't need to be attacked. He tended to bark at people or just do things like talk behind people's back. Even do and it was very narcissistic, shame people and embarrass people. And I was like, yeah, I'm done. Fuck, F this. Now, if I were to work with them, I'd say, hey, you've got a really good strategy with dealing with your customers, but you have this thing over here where you really piss people off that don't need to be pissed off. And it's just like, okay, this is the problem with strategies. Strategies in and of themselves are not bad, but it was almost like he has to refine the strategy a little bit more to go, okay, this applies to this group of people, but not to these people over here, because these people aren't attacking him. They're not yelling at them. They're not, whatever. So the problem is he this is what a lot of people do. They all apply one strategy to everyone, regardless. Now, one of the things he has is a wall. It's a really thick wall, and so if I were to go in and talk, he wouldn't listen to me about, hey, man, let's work on your strategy here. Now, I'd have to use anchoring and unconscious techniques and reframing itself, which is a technique, to get him to not attack. Like, hey, man, these people are not attacking you. They're being nice to you. Like, what are you doing this? And that was one of the things I brought up. I'm like, why are you doing that? Like, I couldn't understand. Now, I realized, like, hey, this is just a strategy that he's generalized to everybody. And he doesn't have any friends because of it. Now, here's the thing that a lot of you don't realize. You can have an unconscious strategy that you don't even know you're doing. And it could cause you to be lonely, to be, to find the right to date the wrong person. It's just an unconscious strategy. Now, I'm going to share something that shifted with me tonight. So, number one, how do I say this? I had this conversation with this other person about this person, and he said that's the way he controls his space. And now when Minnie said that, yeah, because like people will run you over in that store in this area. And I thought, okay, that made sense. That got it, made sense. And what it did for me mentally is it shifted my submodality. So submodality is like, instead of being close, now I'm pulling back far. Instead of being bright, I can turn the light down. Like, you can change your unconscious submodalities. Now, this guy's not an NLP trainer. He was just some dude talking, saying, hey, man, well, blah, 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 blah. And the minute he said that, I went, I shifted, and it was an unconscious thing. But I caught it consciously and realized like, oh, because I remember I started my anger towards this person, or hurt, it really is what it was, shifted. Suddenly it was gone. I thought, oh, okay. So suddenly there was an understanding. Here's a quick note that they taught us. Every therapy that I've studied, from NLP, hypnosis, psychology, timeline therapy, is we are all unconsciously kind of helping each other work through our problems. Now, some people will come in, and I do believe that narcissists and even avoidance in other people, it's almost like a spirit thing that's happening through them. Is they're poking you. And this guy was poking one of my buttons for me to heal. Now, he wasn't the only one. People of the years have done this. It's God's way, or the universe's way of saying, hey, you've got something you've got to heal here. Now, I've cleared two things, or something I cleared about 5 days ago, which has kind of unleashed me again. Now, I use timeline therapy, so I'm at home thinking, man, this is a hell of a realization. But now, do you think I'm going to go and be Mr. Nice to the guy? No. If he starts respecting me, yeah, I will. But I'm like, and here's the thing, though, there's no anger towards him. It's like I understand this is an unconscious strategy that he's using that he's not even aware that he's doing to people that are kind to him. So then I thought, okay, and I realized as I was talking to this other person tonight, like, why does this bother me so much? Why do I even give a shit? And that is when you know you've got something that you need to heal. So I'm at home kind of enjoying the fact that this was reframed. I see it from a different perspective, and then it came up, like, why do I have that horrible feeling of just feeling bad about, when people do stuff like that to me? Like, why? Like, what? Like, who cares? Like, why is this a big deal? And it was kind of bugging me. I thought, oh, I know what it is. Okay. So I went and did some timeline therapy, and you get in touch with the feeling. So you float up above your timeline, you go all the way back, and you have to be taught your timeline, and we have to work it out. That's the first session we'll do, is work out your timeline. And then we'll take a quick ride on it. So I went back in the past and followed the feeling, and then there was a memory that I had that came up. I was like, oh, that's right. When I was a little kid, my brothers and sisters would harass me and tease me relentlessly. And I never understood why. When I was really young, it didn't bother me. I just would look at them like, oh, okay. And it didn't bother me at all. At this point, I was probably 5 or 6 years old, and my brother Gary was really kind of hammering on me. And I remember looking at him like, what you're doing doesn't bother. It just didn't bother me. He was teasing me. It didn't. And I think I even said, like, what you're doing doesn't bother me at all. And it legitimately didn't. There was just a neutralness there. But then I gave it a meaning. I made a decision. And I remember thinking, like, well, he's trying to hurt me. And then I realized that is what hurt me. It was the intention. The fact that he's trying to hurt me, well, that hurts my feelings. And that was the decision that I made and the meaning that I gave to it whenever people would try to hurt me. Now, tonight, I thought, why? Why did I give it that meaning? Like, that doesn't mean that. That's just something I made up in my head. Because before that moment, every time before that, since I was born, it just didn't bother me. Nothing they did bothered me at all. I remember looking at them like they were weird, like they were wasting their time. Like, why are they doing this? It was almost like it didn't logically make any sense to me because I gave zero meaning to it. Now, tonight, here I am doing timeline therapy, and these memories are coming up. Like, oh, yeah, and here's the funny thing. I realized my whole life, I was proud that what people did to me didn't bother me at all. It was the fact that they were trying to hurt me that hurt me. And I go, that's the problem. And I would even proudly tell people this. And I thought, why would you give any meaning to it? There's no meaning to anything at all. They're literally, write this down. Nothing means nothing. There is no meaning to anything at all. And that's a good thing. So I thought, well, it didn't bother me before. And here's the learning that came up. It's like, yeah, because it meant nothing to you. I went, oh, let's go back to that. So now there's different ways to heal. One, you have to do it above. When you make change of belief or decision, you go down into the memory. So I went down to the memory and I thought, yeah, this means nothing to me. So then I floated up above, and you do this healing process where you imagine light, love, and healing coming into you and flowing out your heart into the little you, the little child in the memory, etc., and coming all the way back into the now, floating down at your body. You know, it takes a little longer than that, but I'm trying to skip through that part. So I came out of there going, wow, all my life I have been giving this shitty meaning to people. And you know, people go, Michael, why do you care? You don't even know that person. And I've heard that probably 10,000 times, maybe even more, since I was born. People are like, why do you care? Like, who cares? That person's a nobody. They're just some dickhead, you know, that works at wherever. And I used to try to explain, well, here's why, and then I'm hurting, and they're just like, it's not a big deal. And I'm like, and here's the thing, logically, I understood that. But emotionally, I still hurt. It's literally like, okay, this button, I'm going to connect it to this over here. This button means this, like on the computer. This button is K, that means you're going to get a K. This means J, this means H, and this means it's going to make my feelings hurt. And that's what I did. So here's the deal. All these people, man, all these people in my life that have been pushing this button, there were so many even over the summer that said, and it was kind of cryptic. It wasn't really, though. She said it out loud to my face. And I'm like, oh, I can help you with that. She goes, no, I think you're the one who has something to learn here. And I thought, oh, shit. And I'm telling you, I knew the pain was going to come. And it was something they did that caused me to hurt, and that caused me this. And now I went to this person. It was kind of like a chain of events. Now this person turned on me because the person didn't used to treat me that way. Person at the store, like, well, what's going on? Why are they hammering me all of a sudden? And then this other person, I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? What is this? And this went on for about 2, maybe 3 months now that I think about it. Unconsciously, we are helping each other heal our wounds by bringing them up. If they're just buried down there and you don't notice them at all, they'll just unconsciously come up randomly wherever. But if people poke it, it's going to come up and it's going to hurt. So at this point, it'll cause you to seek out therapy. For me, I'm like, okay, I've got to do something about this. So essentially I used the right tools, timeline therapy, reframing, etc. And I came to a resolution, and now I feel a lot better. Because I'm telling you, 5 hours ago, even when I thought about this person, I was kind of pissed and I was definitely hurt. It's like these little demons help you to clear an issue that's bothered you your entire life. It's kind of like a wound that's festering so bad that you have to deal with it. And that's the way healing works. It's like saying, okay, next up is this one. So the meaning is nothing. Now here's the cool thing. You get to pick and choose what you want to give meanings to. You can take the worst thing in your life, such as your best friend dying, suddenly inspiring you to move forward in life and enjoy life more than you've ever enjoyed it before. There's a reframing in one of Dr. Bandler's books. It might actually be the book Reframing that he wrote. And there was a lady who was rich, wealthy, had a beautiful home, beautiful Persian rugs and all that stuff. And she would vacuum and clean and dust. And they had maids that would do it. And somebody would, like her child or her teenage daughter or her husband would walk across one of the carpets that she just vacuumed. It's perfect. And she goes, oh, they just don't care. They just don't care. And Richard Bandler says, really? You know, one day they're not going to be there. One day your husband's going to die. One day your children are going to get married and they're going to move away to the other side of the country. One day your kids are going to be working so long they won't even have time to call you. One day, and she started missing. And she said, really, those footprints? That knows that you're surrounded by love. Sorry, that's how you know you're surrounded by people that you love. And people who love you. That shifted everything. She didn't vacuum every day anymore. She vacuumed maybe once a week. All of a sudden, when she saw people's footprints, her children's footprints on the carpet, on the floor, wherever it was, it made her heart melt. It made her feel full of love and full of joy. That's a reframe. A lot of things that cause you pain in relationships, in dating, in your family life, in your business life, believe it or not, it's just a meaning that you gave to it. It's causing you harm. It's causing you pain. You can take something that caused you pain and all of a sudden you're like, man, that's like the most loving thing. And here's what happens. So that button, love keeps getting pushed and pushed. And man, you feel great. And that's what happened with this lady. She just absolutely fell in love with her family. She was just like full of joy. Seeing those footprints all over the house suddenly made her feel full of love and joy. And she stopped vacuuming because the more she saw, the more she felt love. You can change. We have the technology, we have the techniques, we know how to help people to shift and change anything in their life. I am not a healer, I'm a master healer. I'm not a life coach, I'm a master life coach. My prices are $125 to $250. It's a sliding scale, pay whatever you want. If you honestly can't comfortably pay at least $125, I will work with you as my Christmas gift to you. So between now and Christmas, you can do any session for whatever amount you can comfortably afford. If you want to support this channel, you can either hire me for coaching. If you just want to learn what your timeline is and discover it and then take a ride on it, we can do that. I'll give you a discounted price for that too. If you want to support this channel in other ways, there's a PayPal link right there in the description box. You can leave a donation. That would be greatly appreciated right now. You can also go to my new website. Go to MikeKollin.com and check out my products. There's men's products, dating and relationship coaching books and packages, and there's women's books also. Okay guys, that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.